Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Cantey, and this is another episode of Living Enlightened Every Day. And I am passionate about helping people discover different ways to live life with love, joy, and authenticity. And I invite you, the listener, the viewer, to watch and listen from your whole being. And listen with the intention that you will remember something wonderful about you in this podcast. Today, I have with me the ineffable and amazing Reverend Skip Jennings, which means it's going to be fun. And we are looking at creating change, going with the flow, and self-love. So stick with us. So today I'm with Reverend Skip Jennings, and here's a brief intro, but I'm going to let him tell you about him, but I'll introduce him. Reverend Skip Jennings is the co-host of the Voices of Unity podcast on mindbodyspirit.fm and the author of the Lotus Kitchen, Spirit Explosion, and the Little Book for Big Transformations. He's a graduate of the Michael B. Beckwith School of Ministry and the founder of Mind, Body, Spirit Solutions L.L.C. Rev Skip is a yoga instructor, an energy healer, and his expertise can be found on his website, skipjennings.com, and Insight Timer meditation app. Skip counsels and coaches clients using his C.A.R.E.S philosophy. And all of this is going across the screen, but for you listening, it's C.A.R.E.S, C-A-R-E-S philosophy, which stands for connection, action, remember, empowerment, self-love. And all of that is transforming the planet one session at a time. Welcome, Skip. I'm so happy you're here.
Oh, thank you, Elizabeth. It's wonderful to be here, and thank you for having me.
Well, the first question I usually ask is what practices or things do you do or how you be to live enlightened every day? You know, when life seems to be getting in the way of our joy or our peace or our harmony, how do you stay aligned in spirit and integrate spirit, mind, and body?
Oh, well, you're going straight in, so I'm gonna go right with you. We're being guided by spirit. So, you know, I practice something called recognize and shift. You recognize where you are and you shift to where you want to be. And I'm going through a lot of that because I believe it's part of our human experience to find ourselves maybe not at the highest consciousness that we want to be in. And we always have the tools to shift. If you do the work, if you're open to listen, if you're willing to do the spiritual practices. So I am constantly in a shift, a recognize and shift mode. And that means, I can recognize when I'm in a really high conscious, powerful place and when I'm not.
Yeah.
Part of this practice has always been to understand that there is not a good or a bad. There's not a duality. There's a polarity experience of spirit. And that's kind of where I'm at every day and giving myself loving kindness, even when I'm not feeling in that place of connectiveness. I still can shift into that place. So that has been my practice. Now, the other things I do is every day I meditate, I do yoga, I drink lots of water, I go for walks, I spend time in some type of reading. So I do the spiritual work that we do, that we learn how to grow in. And that's kind of my practice. That's my practice for living.
I love that. Yeah, you are really, walking the walk, talking the talk, and grounded in this life. It just sounds like as you said all that, I'm hearing that you like it's all the movement of you recognizing yourself as spirit moving through this beautiful world and how the world comes at us, it really, I won't say it doesn't matter, but it doesn't affect us. It doesn't take us out of who we are when you're as grounded as you are with your practices. But I have to say something. It was just beautiful what you said. Not duality, but a polarity. What? I mean, that's beautiful.
What I understand spirit to be, and what I'm learning about non-duality, is that everything's in God, everything's in love, everything is in the presence of the universe. Even the things that we don't want to experience, even those things that we deem to be, oh, that's horrific, that too is in God.
Yeah.
And it is a practice to have an embodiment of it. Because we look at the news, we look at what's happening with war, we look at what's happening, all the things that's happening around the world, and we would go, oh, that's evil or that's good.
Yeah.
And what we learned in our teachings, that everything is God, everything is good. Now I believe that there are lower vibrational experiences that we have, and there are higher vibrations experience that we have. But I still believe it's not a duality because it's still in God, it's still in the presence of the universe. But I believe there's polar experiences. And the
Yeah.
only reason why I can sit here and talk about this, because right now I'm in the biggest change in my life. I resigned last month as a senior minister at Center for Spiritual Living in Fort Lauderdale because I didn't feel that I was at my highest potential, and it was something that I could not be my authentic self in. And I
Yeah.
believe that spirit was calling me forth. I actually moved out of one house into another home. I'm in a fairly new relationship. You know, we've known each other for 2 years, and now we're coming together romantically. So it's still very, very new. So the three most challenging things to do is new relationships, or break up a relationship, a new job, or the loss of a job,
Mm.
or a move. And I'm doing all three at once. So I have to learn to be really kind and loving to myself, because in my ego construct, I'm calling this good and this is bad. I don't want to experience this. I am tired of feeling kind of lost. And then I get to recognize, oh, I'm in a limited mindset. Where do I want to be? And I get to do the work to help me to shift. So I'm the living practice and the living teachings of these principles right now.
I love that. Yes, you are. I can feel it. Feel this power coming from you. Because don't you? I'm in a big transition as well, and what's amazing is, and I think what you were describing a little bit is kind of that idea of like the witness consciousness that I talk a little bit about. I can just I can just watch as things kind of come into my life or leave my life. I can watch my reaction to them and not judge that reaction as good or bad. It's just reacting or responding. Hopefully I'm responding more than I'm reacting, but it's like just watching it without judgment and with that sense of love, and that gives me just that little bit of space to not be the reaction and not be the judgment and not
Yeah.
be that. I'm stepping back into well, recently, I'm not one to really use this word, but I've been using this word a lot, like the wounded child. My wounded child is like,
Hmm.
what? And I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, wow, I do have a wounded child. She's right here, and she's kicking
Right.
and screaming, and
Right.
watching that in love, and I'm learning self love again. Another layer of self-love is including this wounded child. So so I love that you brought that aspect in. And then what is this shift? Is it something specific you do? Or is it a program you have or something you've written about?
Sure. The shift, the way to shift is you go back to your spiritual bank account, I call it, and we've
Mm,
filled it up with all these different spiritual tools that we know that actually works. Now,
mm,
I don't know which spiritual tool will work with what situation, so I do them all. Is it more meditation? Is it more affirmation? Is it more quiet time? Is it more going out into nature? Is it doing more yoga? Is it, being present with a teaching that's always spoken to me, or going to a new teaching? We have all these tools. I have all these tools to help me to shift from a limited mindset to a mindset of infinite possibilities. Now, for me, the work has been to be very present with what I'm experiencing, and understanding that, as Eckhart Tolle would say, is how do we know we're having the right experience? Because we're having it.
Because
So I get to,
it's
is
right
that
here.
because it's right here. We're in the middle of it. So I get to ask that incredible question I learned from my teacher, Michael Beckwith. What is seeking to emerge here? There is nothing wrong that's happening in your life, but you get to ask what is seeking to emerge.
Mm.
Especially if you're in those difficult times where you are really feeling it and the shift is hitting the fan, and you're like going, what did I do? I left my job, and my clients who said they were coming with me did not come with me, and I don't know. And this is me 24 hours ago on my knees going, God, you said, and understanding that this too is my invitation for growth. I believe that this is my preparation for the next phase of what I'm here to do. I believe that this is me being called to grow up,
Mm.
and I literally grow up in consciousness. This is my call to become more in tune with my true nature. Versus, at CSL, I am Rev Skip, and that becomes my drag, and
Yeah.
people know me. But who are you without Rev Skip? And Elizabeth, what I found, I felt very lost the last couple of weeks. I've been feeling very lost, and that too is in God. And
Yes.
I believe that's the time where God is saying, "Now I can use you, because you're now releasing all your attachments, all your ideas, all the things that you think you should be doing. Now let's move forward, because now you're freeing yourself."
Yeah.
That's not an easy place to be. It's not, but it's fulfilling. It's beautiful. It is the place I believe I feel the closest to spirit, and leaning into divine intuition, when I am humbled and I'm on my knees yelling out, going, God, hear me.
Asking enlightened questions. If we when we're asking questions from our ego, when it's like, why does this always happen to me, or why did they do that, or why, like it's these really the wounded child questions, in a way, and the
Mm,
child is the one that doesn't have all the information, that has that childlike mentality. They haven't developed logic and reasoning and all these things yet, so it's like pure victim mode. And if we ask from that place, we get the answers from the ego. Like,
yes.
because you're not smart enough, because you always do this, because or they do this or they do that. Either way, we're hard on ourselves, or we're hard on that situation, those people. It's always about that. But when we can step out of that and ask, as you said, what is wanting to emerge now
Mhm.
because of this? What can I learn from this? What is this showing me in love? And just going along that line, when we're asking from that beautiful space of wanting to know how life is using us for our good and the good of everyone concerned,
Mhm.
we get an answer. Don't
Yeah.
you love that? I absolutely get an answer. And it's like,
It's all about flow, and flow is another acronym that I've been teaching. I still teach on Friday mornings. I do something on the side timer. It's called Get Into the Flow with Rev Skip, or Flow Fridays. We've nicknamed it Flow Fridays, and flow is an acronym for faith, love, openness, and willingness. And I've learned to have faith that I am in the right place I am supposed to be. I have faith in my spiritual principles and my practices that I built in my, I want to say my bank account. I have faith in that. I have faith in our teachings. I have faith in what I've learned. I have faith in love. I have faith in our divine principles that we are. And I always comes back to love. And the love I'm talking about is unconditional love because I have many conditions upon myself, Elizabeth. I I am the hardest person on myself when things are not in that
Mm,
perfect order. When I think my mind says it should be perfect, I begin to not love myself or
mm,
find reasons why not to love myself. So I believe that the love we're learning is unconditional love. How do
yeah.
we do that? Having faith in our principles, moving into unconditional love. And then for me, it's always been be open and willing, be open to new ideas. I believe we need to have a new thought and new thought. So we get caught up into this space that's locked, this dogma that we have created in science of mind and in new thought, in new age, whatever you're following, and we get stuck and we go, this is how it is, and this is how it should be. And I realize that our principles go beyond, like we were talking about before, goes beyond Ernest Holmes. It goes beyond Michael Beckwith. It goes beyond Joel S. Goldsmith. All our incredible people who created this. These principles were here before time itself. So are you open to having a new experience and then be willing to do the work. And sometimes I got to tell you, I'm just willing to be willing. Sometimes I'm not willing to get up and go to meditation, but I am willing, so I do it. So that whole kind of flow for me has been that way of shifting where I want to be.
Mm. Well, it's something you said, it made me smile because, I remember Michael Beckwith saying, he was like, so what if you don't feel like it? You don't feel like getting, you don't feel like it. It's like, do it anyway. Who
Do it
cares?
anyway.
And I was like, oh, right. I can do that. I can
I can
do it
do it.
anyway, even if
I
I
can
don't
do it
feel like
anyway.
it.
Right. Right.
And it's so funny. It's my childlike mind. It's like,
Mhm.
I don't feel like, meditating today.
Right.
Do it anyway.
Right. Right.
Like I don't feel like paying my bills, but if I don't do it, I know what happens.
Exactly.
And so of course I'm going to pay my bill. Like of course I'm going to keep up with the things that need keeping up with
Yes.
to
Yeah.
allow my life to be free and easy and joyful. So if I don't feel like doing that,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
it's a sort of resistance or a willingness, it's like I just remind myself it's okay that that you don't feel like it. Just sit on the couch, turn off the silence the phone, and just sit
Yes.
for a few minutes
Distractions.
anyway.
Yes.
See
Exactly.
what comes up for you.
Exactly.
Or walk in nature, or whatever
Mhm.
that is that I can move into. But that made me laugh. Um, yeah, being willing to be willing and
Be
just
willing to be willing.
keep allowing ourselves to open into willingness to and recognizing, I guess, that it's all about like like I said, paying the bills or doing the grocery shopping. If we don't do it, life gets a little chaotic
Right.
for no reason when there's a little bit of a system or something that we've created that keeps us in flow. And what we're talking about is keeping ourselves in that flow like water. There's obstacles always, but we're not smashing up
Mhm.
against them. We're just moving, scooting around them with these practices, like you said. Willing, but you said you feel like you're in a state of observing shift.
Right.
The possibility, is that what I understood, for
Sure.
shift in your life? And I love that because most of us are so afraid of change that when anything moves,
Mhm.
we tense, we contract and we get ready for the fight. It's like, don't touch my stuff, don't move anything, and don't move the pieces.
Right.
Don't take away anything, don't add anything, because that'll really mess me up, just
Right.
keep everything right where it is. But when you live from the place where the only constant is change, so you've learned to embrace that. I love the way you said that. That's really a powerful place to be.
The only thing that's consistent in life is change. It's the shift. It's the transformation, the expansive. We live in an expansive universe, so our life is expansive. And so, one of the things, and not to get grim, but I've been, really studying death.
Yeah.
I've been really studying death and what does it mean? What do I truly believe about transitioning over to life after life? I truly believe there's life after life, but I believe that is probably the biggest transition coming into this world and leaving. But
Sure.
everything else is preparing us for that moment that we cross back into eternity. I was watching a great documentary, and it's about anyway, it's about an ex model who comes to become an activist, and she said in this Beth Ann Hardison, she
Mhm.
said, "Our whole life is preparing us to die."
Oh, wow.
Preparing us to shift everything that we're doing. May it be good. This is a great experience. And every step is taking us to the point of transition. And when I heard that and I was watching the documentary and going, that makes sense to me. I also heard another thing that I've been studying about the particles in the body are made up of stars, of stardust. We are
Yeah.
made of the same element, stardust. And there is a philosophy that says we came from the stars and we're making our way back to the stars. And
Hmm.
so I've been thinking about how this journey is a series of shifting, a
Yeah.
series of transformation. Everything, whether you know it or not, it's all expanding, all evolving. I can go with the shift or go with the flow, or I can get ran over by it. Am I going to resist it or am I going to go with it? Am I going to go with the flow? And so part of this, me turning 60 next year, I have been in this space of, okay, what do I want this? I don't believe it's my last chapter, but I'm getting closer to that time. What do I want my legacy to be on this planet?
Mm.
What do I want? So that required a shift. Hence, me stepping down as senior minister, that it was a time for me to not let go of something. Yes, I let go of something, but what am I stepping into? Because we let go to step in.
Absolutely. Every ending is a new beginning, and it's so beautiful when when we can see both rather
Hmm.
than getting stuck in the ending, the pain, the grief, the loss, the sorrow. It's like being stuck there. And of course, don't hear me wrong, honoring pain, grief, sorrow, loss,
Yes.
and realizing that just over that horizon is, and the dawn of a new day, a new beginning has to take place. If something ends, something new is coming in, even when it hasn't come in yet, even when we can't imagine yet what it is. It
Hmm.
is. It is. It's life expressing and moving, and something new is coming in. Life hates a void and a vacuum, and whew, something will come in. And if we are in that really beautiful space that you're talking about, I'm going to call it shift consciousness,
I love that.
it's
I
like
love that.
being aware of the ending and being aware that something's coming in. We also can be aware, witness that what is coming in may or may not be that thing that is next for us. I mean, sometimes there's two or three things. There's almost like two or three doors, two or three
Mm.
paths that we hadn't seen because we were on this path. And it's like, oh, being in the consciousness of being aware and allowing that which will serve our highest good will
Mm.
emerge from that. And I believe, I think you do too, that even if we start down, let's call it the middle path, and we get down it, it's like, oh wait, this isn't quite what I thought. This isn't as expansive, or this isn't.
That's it.
Oh, we didn't make a mistake.
No.
That's not a mistake. The other paths, or 3 more paths have opened up
Yeah,
now because
that's
we took
key.
the step. We're in a different place. We're a different person than the one that took that middle path. Now that we're on it, we're a different person, and the next thing will open up when we're in that shift consciousness, that awareness. That's
Yeah. And I
beautiful.
love what you were saying about that. It is truly this, you know, I believe that we can't make mistakes because our journey is our journey. And everything that we have experienced, even that which we want to call a misstep or a mistake, was really our invitation for growth.
Yes.
It was really an opportunity to see who we really are, those heartaches. So there is beauty in grief. There's beauty in heartache. There's beauty in the challenges. There's beauty in the breakups. There's beauty in the losing of a job. There's beauty in all of this if we can just look at it as an opportunity for growth. I embrace my grief. I
Yeah.
don't want to live in it, but I embrace it so that I can feel it, so then I can deal with it, heal through it. And part of this process for me has been, especially of recent, is can I see the beauty in all things? That's
Mm,
a part of non-duality. Can I see the beauty? And I'm saying the God beauty, the love beauty, the beauty, the universal beauty of life, of reality, the big R, as Ernest Holmes would say. Can I see the beauty in all of it? Because in my mind, I want to compartmentalize what I believe is good and what I feel that it's good and what I feel is not. So finding the beauty and finding, that sometimes I had a very interesting experience with something that didn't go the way that I wanted it to go, and it came out of the blue. And I found myself beginning to beat myself up for it, for allowing it to happen. And I
mm,
went, hold up, wait a minute. And it was instantaneous. What are you doing? Okay. Well, and in that moment, I saw the beauty and the gift of the work that I've done, the work that
mm,
we've all done. You get to see the beauty of, this thing that came up that was the catalyst for you to have a greater shift. So this has been a process, and it's so interesting. I love this life. I love the life of transformation. Those who are awake and willing to be on it, it's so much fun. But yet there is the heartache that is fun as well. But I'm not denying that people are going through it. But there is a space that I'm learning to be in, this divine joy of life, the beauty of it all.
Well, and the divine joy in life. When we first met, that's really how we connect. I don't know, I just see it in you, and you're just that's who you are. And of all the qualities of spirit that resonates with me the most, it's this joy. And that's the vibration that I just giggle, at myself pretty much all the time, whatever's going on. But
Right.
I went through a really rough time, a hard time when my son was very sick for a long time. And it never diminished the joy that I am. It just expressed differently. I had to live my life a little differently in that period of years of being in flow. I had to be in harmony with what was going on, and I would have said in that moment that I'm in this divine harmony of harmonizing with everything that was happening. Being with all these other things, doctors and hospitals and medications and insurance and all that. It's like I wouldn't have called that joy, obviously, but it's still divine. It's still I was still me in it, and that expression just
Mhm.
shifted a little bit, and now it's shifting back into sort of this divine joy, and maybe even more love, really pulling it
Yeah.
all into my heart and then releasing it from my heart, a little bit more now. And that's what happens as we honor our transformational path. But I was thinking one of the reasons I got into originally becoming a minister. For people who don't know, we're talking about the Centers for Spiritual Living, being ministers. I became a practitioner in 1998. So I was at
Mhm.
Agape in 1993, I think. And before that at O.C. Smith's Church, City of Angels,
Oh,
for,
yes.
yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
I know, incredible, incredible people, incredible group. And so we talk about these teachings, but honoring that it's the perennial wisdom that is
Yes.
actually in every tradition, in Hinduism and Buddhism and Christianity and Judaism and Islam and anything I haven't mentioned, of course, Native American and
Mm,
shamanism all around the world.
all of it.
It's all there. And so we're talking about this perennial truth, and the truth is always the truth. The truth is one. It's this truth.
Mm,
And so the way it's expressed is always different, but for us we're talking about that where we came up through this
yes.
wisdom is the Centers for Spiritual Living. But I started this because I felt so free and
Mm,
joyful, and people could use the words peaceful or inspired or wise, wisdom, or they can use whatever word that reflects to them the nature of spirit. But for me it was like just knowing that this these teachings allow me to be free in my life regardless of what was happening, and to experience joy no
yes.
matter how this, like I always say, the hurricanes come. We live in Florida.
Mm.
The hurricanes come,
Right. Yes.
but we're not wailing and gnashing our teeth. We're packing up the car and
Exactly.
the dog and the stuff, and we're getting along, and we're making the phone calls, and we're loving each other and praying for each other and helping each other and living the life with the hurricane. But there's so much love and joy, and I know that some people get caught up in
Yeah.
the experience of whatever's happening, being like feeling like a victim to the hurricane or to the storms
Mm,
or to the relationships or the betrayals or the getting unceremoniously fired from a job. It's like, how
mm,
dare they do that to me? But when we have these practices and principles, it's like, wow, that happened and that
yeah.
sucked, and I'm going to spend a few days eating some ice cream and crying, and then
Right.
then whether I feel like it or not, I'm gonna sit and love and make some phone calls and have people love on me so that I can
Mhm.
get out the door and
Very
do what's
important.
next. Yeah.
No, I love what you were saying earlier when you shared about your son, and in the midst of it, you might not feel the joy, but the joy will reappear. And I remember my mother used to have this incredible scripture that she used to walk around, and she would going through something, and we would go through something, and she would just say, weeping man may endure the night, but joy comes in the morning. She would also say, "This didn't come to stay; it came to pass." And I now I get what she's talking about. As you're going through your hardships, you're going through your challenges. You might not feel the presence of joy. It doesn't mean it's not there, and it doesn't mean that it won't be activated again. And I remember one time Yana Van Zandt said in her talk, she said, if you prayed all you can pray, you meditated all you can meditate, and nothing seems to work, eat chocolate."
I don't like chocolate, so I'm gonna go for the ice cream.
Right, eat ice cream. Whatever your spiritual experience is or practice at the time to get you through what you need to get through, it is valid. It
Yeah,
is valid. And
absolutely.
those who are on this journey, all your viewers and listeners, you're on this journey, you can depend on what you've learned. You can depend on your practices, and it will pass. It came to pass, not to stay.
This too shall pass.
This too shall pass.
And same with the good stuff. I
Same
That's
with
why
the good stuff. Same with the good
right.
stuff.
That's why I loved what you said about being that consciousness of shift. It's like just being,
Mhm,
and I can just picture you, it's this alert awareness of things as they come in and then as they leave, and they come in and they leave, and there's always sort of a birth of it and a death of it,
mhm,
and so there's the acceptance of what is, and then the releasing of what isn't anymore. They're letting it go, and when we're in that flow and there's no resistance,
mm,
it's that we can realize the joy or the peace or the
Mhm,
harmony or the
mhm.
whatever that is for us that we wish to experience as things are coming and as they are going. So
Absolutely.
I love that. Oh, would you like to share? I'm curious because I don't know much about your should I call it counseling, your clients that you use
Sure.
C.A.R.E.S with, and this idea of C.A.R.E.S. It just when I read what that stood for, you'll have to tell us again. It's not right in front of me. What does that stand for
So
again?
CARES stands for connection, action, remember, empowerment, self-love. So when I counsel and I actually create this to help me to shift my own life, I started off on the path of personal training and fitness
Yeah.
and group fitness. And then, I found agape. And once you find agape, you're like, oh wow, this is something wonderful is happening
Amazing.
here. Yeah. So you're like, oh, wait a minute, I want to be a part of this. And I'm already kind of doing this kind of work with this. And so I got deep into the classes, started to transform my life. And I started taking these spiritual principles and taking them to my physical fitness classes, teaching
Hmm.
classes from spiritual experience. It is done as you believe. You believe that your body is strong. We did affirmations and we do push ups. I am strong. The greatest affirmation we have is I am. And I realized that we were doing this work, maybe physical or maybe spiritual, because it's all the same. Our work was to connect with our true nature. So the C came from connection.
Mm,
Whatever we're doing to transform, and what we're really looking to do is truly connect with ourselves, connect with what it is that we want to become more authentic, to connect to our authentic self. But I truly believe the thing that we're really looking to connect with is our higher power. We're looking to connect with God. We're looking to connect with love. We're looking to connect with joy. A connection is what we are really deeply looking for. If you want true connection, there must be an action. This is not a practice that we or a movement that we are sitting there watching it happen for us. We believe it happens as us. So
mm,
everything that we want to transform and connect with requires action. Sometimes the action is meditation, it's prayer, it's lifting weights, going for a walk. It's getting into counseling. Everything you're looking to connect with requires an action. I remember one of my first teachers. You probably know she's made her transition, Lissa Sprinkles, and I would tell her I'm going through something, and she would pray for me, and she'd go, "Now we treat. Now it's time to move your feet. What are you going to do? What are you going to manifest? Because this is not happening to you; it's happening as you." So
mm,
then the action, and then I believe this journey is a journey of we wake up, we fall asleep. We
mm.
wake up, we fall asleep. We wake up even longer than we were asleep. So the waking up is remembering. We're remembering to remember. We're remembering our principles, remembering our intention, remembering that we are not alone on this. It's about remembering and remembering and remembering and remembering. The E for empowerment for me has been the realization that someone can't give me power, but I can realize the power is within me, and that's true spiritual empowerment. So we get to find that place of empowerment that, oh, this power for me to change my life is within me. And everything comes back to self love. And what I mean by self love, the connection, the action, the remembering, the empowerment leads us to a deeper awakening of our divine self. That's true self love. I'm
Oh,
not talking about the little self, I'm talking about the big self.
yes.
So all the counseling I do is using these principles. And then once you remember self-love, guess what? We start all over again. We connect to something deeper. We connect to another experience that we want to have. May it be true love, may it be financial freedom. It's all about connecting. And then there's a new action, and then there's more to remember, and then there's a new level of empowerment, and then we move into more self-love, and then the cycle begins again.
Yes,
So
because
everything around cares.
yeah, we're not that same person anymore.
Right, right, that's it. It's just
Yeah.
another way of connecting with our deeper self.
Yeah.
the self that is growing. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what CARES comes from, and I've been using it for about 25 years now, and I'm grateful that it came out of me. It came out of my realization about me, and I get to share it with my clients.
Well, it's beautiful. It just sounds like a really powerful and empowering process. So I know if you've been doing it this long, I mean, obviously it works. It's just
Works.
and it's a, you know, I really admire people who have these wonderful organized ways. It just it's like for you, for your clients, for us now to kind of remember that it's easy to have this acronym and to
Yeah.
have this in our mind as we're going through something, to know we can always connect with you, but connect with your books, your mindfulness app, and through your website. And but now, knowing that this is part of how you help people move through the shift, I just think
Yes.
that's
You
amazing.
know, the reason for an acronym for me, I experienced dyslexia. I have experienced. I never don't call myself a dyslexic because that's not who I am, but I have experienced dyslexia, and it's a severe type of dyslexia where you can actually see numbers like on my keyboard will start to invert as I'm looking, or they'll move. And
Mm,
for me, an acronym was the way to make sense of what I needed to remember. So
mm,
I have a whole list of acronyms that I use for transformation to help me to remember what it is that I'm looking to experience, what it is I'm looking to shift to. And so, part of my next book that's coming out is about the acronyms that I've used. It's about, finding ways to make spirituality accessible.
mm.
For me, coming up with acronyms. Spirituality became accessible for me.
Oh, I love that. That is
Mhm.
such a great story. It's so interesting how we can talk about some principle or some aspect of truth, and we know it's true, but the way you're going to talk about it, and you're going to express it, and you're going to draw people to you to experience it with you, is so different than the way I'm going to do it or the way the next person's going to do it. And then when we get in a group and we have that group energy of doing maybe a process that is the same, but we're all experiencing it in just a different way, and it's like a rainbow. It's like all the colors are there, but we're together, having this experience, whether it's a yoga class or a meditation or something online, even, a gathering on Sunday, whatever it is. I that just brought that all together for me, is the unique
Mm.
expression of some of the same things, and it's so powerful. I am always reminded that there's there's one truth, but there's 8.5 billion ways
Yeah.
to see it and express it. And honoring that and enjoying that, just, oh,
I,
it's delicious.
I am always amazed that, when we talk about New Thought, we talk about the different elements of New Thought. We talk about agape and CSL and this and that. It's like we're all saying the same thing, but we might have a different accent.
Yeah.
Like I have a cousin in Jersey that says you all, and my cousins in Alabama go y'all. But we're saying the same thing. We have a different way of experiencing. And so when you move even out of New Thought to Buddhism or Hinduism, like you were saying before, these principles are so deeply ingrained before time itself, and how we express it, that is our true unique emanation. It's a true unique way that we can take these principles and create our own.
Yeah.
And create from it. How are you going to express the truth? There is one power, one presence, one mind. You live in that, you are that one power, one presence, one mind. You activate it from your thinking. How do you create that new space and not saying it by rote, but how, what does it mean for you knowing that you are the divine intelligence. And that is a journey of what we get to do in spirituality. What does it mean to us and to our spirit?
Mm. And that's our exploration. And that's
There it is.
these podcasts, these conversations, these
Yes.
dialogues, and these friendships. And I do love, I know we talked just a couple times, just bringing up the hurricanes or the storms or the endings, and just recognizing that we have a support group, whether it's, um, and of course, it doesn't have to be someone in any particular type of principle, but that you have friends or family or practitioners or ministers or
Mhm.
someone who loves us through that and can see the truth for us, with us, as us. That's
Absolutely.
a really powerful place too, is knowing we're never really alone, and we're always, there's only one, there's one being, and we share it. So even if I don't know what you, Skip, are going through, I can sense and feel and know
Mhm.
the wholeness within you, and love you through it. And that love is the connection, that you will feel your sense of wholeness through love, the love
Yeah.
that we share, as our being.
Mhm.
And of course, if we can get the whole world on this page, no one can treat, if we have self-love, I'm remembering.
Can you? Can we? Let's all find it, y'all. Come on.
When we have really that self-love, we cannot treat anyone else out of love.
That's it.
And it's when we are living in fear, in lack, and limitation, when we perceive ourselves as the finite mind and as this finite body with all of its limitations, and we think, I am limited, I need to take this from you or get this from you so that I feel whole, we create suffering. But when that self-love, I just love your cares, that self-love, being aware of shift, the changes that are always happening, and then using, cares for
Care for
ourselves
yourself. Care
for
for yourself.
every, yeah,
For
for
yourself.
every change.
Care.
Isn't
It's all
that?
about caring.
Yeah. It's
It's
like,
all
wait
about
a minute,
caring.
I'm caring right now. I just
Right, right, right,
care.
right.
I
I
need to
love
care
that.
for a little
We're,
longer.
we got to make that a verb now. I'm caring. I'm doing it right now. I'm doing it. I'm doing the caring.
Yes.
It, I love it.
We'll
Love
have to add the S though. I'm doing the caresing.
it. You're right. I'm doing the caresing. Yes. What you doing, caresing?
I'm
Okay.
caresing. Yeah. Caresing. I just need another minute. Hold on. I'm
Yeah,
just
I'll be
caresing.
there. Yes.
I just feel and sense that this transition for you is an opening into being of greater and greater service, and just knowing that your
Mm,
unique spirit is emerging, even more, whatever that means.
right. It
And
is.
you've been,
I think it's very important for us to all remind ourselves of that, especially in the time of transition, that your greater yet to be seen is revealing itself to you right now. And that is the reminder for me right now. It is something wonderful is happening, and it's coming forth and it's revealing itself. It's not going to reveal itself. And I got to remember that, because sometimes we can speak in ways, because words have power. Your mind, your thoughts, everything has the power. It activates the law is the energy of manifestation. The law is everything. So when I say it's going to happen, that's the truth. Oh yeah, my good's going to happen. It's going to happen. I have to constantly be in the affirmative that it's happening right now. I might not see it with my human eyes, but my soul knows it's happening. My spirit knows it's happening. It's funny. My mother was a reminder of that. She says, "Son, your blessing's happening right now." I was on the phone with her and I was going through it, and mamas know, spiritual mamas know. My mama knows. She's like, son, your greatest expression is happening right now.
Mm,
Don't give up.
yeah.
Don't give up. And so heard that around me during this part of transformation. I've heard it around me. I've heard other people say it. I've not always felt it, but I truly believe it. So you saying what you just said is another affirmative word that something great is happening.
You see that people who have even just a little bit of these teachings, and I will say most people anyway, when we have that 2020 hindsight, when we can look at what's happened in our lives and really bless everything that's happened as leading us to this moment right now, this moment right here, right now, that everything happened to bring me to this joy and this connection and this remembrance of the truth of who I am, and that those were just experiences that came and went. So,
Hmm.
whatever is happening right now, I can know, even if I cannot see it with my eyes or my
Yeah.
ears, I cannot see it, I cannot hear it from these people or that situation, but I can know because it is always come and gone and led me to this
Hmm.
point of love and joy, then this too is for my highest good. And that's faith. You had mentioned faith a few times, and it's like, wow, why would I think this wasn't for my highest good either? It must be, it has to be. And then we look for the good. And whatever we're looking for, we see. It's like it's here. There's good. And then all of a sudden this happens, or somebody calls, or as simple as a butterfly going by. It's like, yes, there is good
Yeah.
right here, right now.
I believe this transition or transformation or transmutation of energy, it definitely begins with hope. There
Mm,
is an element of hope when someone has hit the bottom, they've hit the wall. For them to move on, there has to be some level of hope. So we begin to seek a solution. That hope will turn into faith because it has to have faith to keep moving on. But then
mm,
I believe that faith eventually will shift to knowing, and then that knowing becomes conviction.
yeah.
We live in a place of conviction, and conviction is not based upon your feelings. Because sometimes you don't feel like you're connected, but you have a conviction that you're connected to the divine. So
Mm,
I believe that it is an expansive experience, it's not linear. And I believe at any moment we can be in the midst of something and we just need to tap onto a little bit of hope
mm.
that will shift into faith, that will move into a knowing, a knowing and embodiment of the transformation. And then there's this living from a place of conviction.
You were doing this, and I had this like snowball, this idea that
That's what
I'm
it
from
feels like.
Florida, so I've never seen it, but it's like a
Right, right,
snowball that rolls around and gets bigger
right.
and bigger and bigger. And it's like, yeah, you can't ignore that. Yeah,
Mm.
that's the reality. This connection, this knowing, this conviction. Wow. I feel really, really empowered after speaking with you about these amazing things. And
Yeah.
I'm really grateful
You
for
know, I'm sorry.
this. That's all right.
I'm grateful too because as teachers and as ministers and authors and speakers, we have to have these incredible duets, this conversation with two spiritually minded people to remember that this is in us. These sacred conversations, I call them the high conscious conversation. That was one of my podcasts before. It's called High Conscious Conversations with Rev Skip,
Mm,
because it is that time that we get to reaffirm what is already within us. So you ask a question, I ask a question, we get to continue to ask. And these sacred podcasts that are happening right now are such important for people to hear us have this conversation. that truly is two people, two God beings are conversing with each other for the evolution, the spiritual evolution, the spiritual growth of each other, and other people get to listen in on it.
Yeah. And
So
we
good.
invited them to listen with their whole being because it's about
Yes,
them.
exactly. Exactly. Mhm.
So I'm going to invite you, the listener, to reach out to Skip Jennings or myself with any questions or comments. Maybe we sparked some ideas for you in your life, something about a transition you're going through, and you're ready for this shift. Maybe you can relate. You can always reach Skip through his website, which is skipjennings.com. That'll go up on the screen and it'll be in the show notes. And you can find more information about me at elizabethcantey.com. And my new book, Living Enlightened, The Joy of Integrating Spirit, Mind, and Body, is available on Amazon. And Skip's books, The Lotus Kitchen, Spirit Explosion, and The Little Book for Big Transformations. That's just a
Yes.
brilliant name, and I love it. I'm so sorry I haven't read it yet.
It's okay. A
But
new book is coming.
the link is in the notes or listed below. Make sure you hit the like button if you liked this and subscribe and share this with a friend. Maybe they're ready to shift or to be caresing. Caresing in their transition. Just send them this video. Well, thank you so much for joining me today with Reverend Skip Jennings. I'm Elizabeth Cantey, and this is Living Enlightened Every Day. Join me every week for a new insight into how we can love our life and live our passion every day. Just remember to laugh, love, and live enlightened. Mwah.